This morning, a new discovery inside the Great Pyramid of Giza. Behind these gigantic chevrons above the main entrance, for the first time, a look inside, a precise analysis, a real characterization.
This discovery, in my opinion, is the most important discovery on the 21st century.
For 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza deceived humanity with its majestic silence. History asserted it was a tomb, but materials science uncovered anomalies inexplicable by funeral rituals. By early 2026, the veil of mystery was finally lifted when the next-generation artificial intelligence system, Grok AI, was brought in to investigate, unconstrained by historical biases. Grok processed millions of physical data points and reached a shocking conclusion. There was no evidence of a tomb. Instead, the AI discovered a forgotten technology, designed for a far more utilitarian and terrifying purpose than we ever dared imagine: the slumber of the gods. For more than 4 millennia, the Pyramid of Giza has kept its silence. It is a heavy silence, guarded by burning desert sands and by an almost unanimous agreement within human history, according to archaeology. This monument was meticulously prepared as the final resting place of Pharaoh Khufu, the second ruler of the 4th dynasty. Here, he would undertake the most important journey of a living god, entering the afterlife, the sacred realm known as the Duat, and joining his soul with the imperishable stars of the northern sky. This theory neatly explains the immense effort of an entire nation over the course of 2 decades. When Herodotus, the ancient Greek historian, arrived in Egypt in the 5th century before Christ, local priests told him that 100,000 laborers toiled relentlessly to construct the monument. Driven by the king's ambition and spiritual demands, modern archaeologists have revised this figure, demonstrating that the workforce consisted of skilled craftsmen and paid farmers rather than slaves. Yet, the essential purpose of the structure appears unchanged. It was a colossal funerary project. This scholarly consensus rests upon the firm foundations of ancient Egyptian culture. Archaeological records show that the Egyptians believed deeply in the Ka and the Bai, aspects of the soul that required a carefully preserved physical body to endure for eternity. The Valley of the Kings in Luxor stands as the clearest example, filled with tombs carved deep into rock, richly adorned with gold, furniture, and provisions for the world beyond. From this comparative perspective, it seems entirely logical that the largest, most costly, and most enduring monument of all, the Great Pyramid, served the same purpose. The explanation fits seamlessly into the broader image of a theocratic society in which every national resource was directed toward securing the king's immortality. He was seen as the sole bridge between gods and humankind. Through this lens, the architectural complexity of the pyramid is interpreted as a system of security measures against tomb robbers. Steep, narrow corridors, massive granite blocking stones, deceptive passageways designed to mislead the eye. Each element is understood as a desperate effort by ancient architects to protect the royal mummy from violation. The world accepts this explanation because it feels safe. It honors an ancient culture, aligns with religious logic, and, most importantly, closes the door to further questioning. When we stand before the staggering mass of more than 2 million limestone and granite blocks stacked with astonishing precision, we see an expression of faith and organizational brilliance. It appears to be a monument to death, a human attempt to touch eternity through ritual and stone. Structural anomalies in the king's chamber. Once the initial awe at its scale fades and careful observation begins, fractures appear in the tomb narrative, not in the outer structure, but at the very heart of the monument, the king's chamber. If the sole and supreme purpose of the Great Pyramid was to house Khufu in death, then this chamber represents a cultural and ritual failure so profound that it is difficult to comprehend. Compare it with any other royal tomb discovered in Egypt. The tomb of Tutankhamun, though small and hastily completed, overflowed with treasure, vibrant murals, and dense religious texts covering nearly every surface. The tomb of Seti I is an artistic masterpiece, with reliefs and hieroglyphs recounting the soul's journey through the afterlife. In stark contrast, the king's chamber inside the Great Pyramid is entirely bare. There are no images, no inscriptions, no hymns of praise, no protective spells from the Book of the Dead to guide the pharaoh through the perilous underworld. The four walls of polished red granite from Aswan stand smooth, cold, and impersonal. This emptiness is an extreme anomaly within Egyptian tradition, where a fear of empty space drove artists to fill every surface with sacred imagery to safeguard the deceased. The only object present in the chamber is a granite box commonly referred to as a sarcophagus. Yet even this object raises technical contradictions. It is more roughly finished than the chamber walls, bearing clear marks of sawing and drilling, as though function outweighed aesthetics. Its dimensions are slightly larger than the chamber entrance. Confirming a construction reality, it must have been placed inside before the room was completed and before the ceiling was sealed. In other words, this box was integrated into the structure from the beginning, rather than introduced after a funeral. Most striking of all, it is empty. There is no mummy of Khufu, no fragments of a wooden coffin, no traces of burial linens or grave goods, which typically remain in some form even after the most ruthless tomb robbers have passed through. The contradictions deepen when one considers the precision of the monument. The Great Pyramid is aligned to true north with an error of only 3/60ths of a degree, roughly 0.05 degrees, a level of accuracy that is difficult to achieve even in modern construction without advanced surveying instruments. Its base covers more than 5 hectares and is leveled so precisely that the southeast corner stands less than 2 centimeters higher than the northwest corner. Why would a tomb require such extreme mechanical and astronomical precision? A body does not need alignment measured in fractions of a degree in order to decay. A soul does not require a perfectly leveled foundation to ascend to the heavens. Even more puzzling is the internal shaft system. Unlike anything else found in Egyptian architecture, these are not ventilation ducts. As Victorian-era archaeologists once assumed, fresh air is unnecessary in a sealed tomb. 2 shafts from the king's chamber extend outward through the pyramid's mass to the exterior, while 2 shafts from the so-called queen's chamber below terminate abruptly at small limestone doors fitted with copper handles that lead nowhere. A conventional tomb design would not include such complex, costly, and technically demanding blind passages. The presence of these features creates a subtle but persistent unease. If we set aside the tomb hypothesis for just a moment, what remains is a vast hollow stone structure built with machine-like precision, containing technical elements that serve neither the living nor the dead. It feels as though we are gazing at the shell of something entirely different, a function erased by time, leaving behind a misunderstanding that has endured for thousands of years. Grok AI simulation of the pyramid as a physical system. This is where traditional archaeology reaches its limit, however objective we try to be. We remain bound by cultural context. We see stone and think of temples. We see underground chambers and think of tombs to break this perceptual barrier. A new tool entered the investigation: Grok AI. Unlike historians, Grok is indifferent to the mythology of Osiris. It is unmoved by religious belief or reverence for pharaohs. It processes raw data. Its task is to integrate millions of data points drawn from ground-penetrating radar scans, gravitational measurements, material spectral analysis, and astronomical modeling in order to identify hidden patterns. Earlier versions of Grok had already identified basic structural anomalies, but the new Grok AI analysis of 2026 went much further. It did not simply observe the pyramid as a static object. It simulated the dynamic state of the entire structure under ancient environmental conditions. The system ran millions of modeled scenarios, incorporating Old Kingdom Nile water levels, geological pressure beneath the limestone bedrock of the Giza Plateau, humidity and insulating properties of the original white Tura limestone casing, and the natural vibrational frequencies of Aswan granite. When the AI began reconstructing the Great Pyramid purely through the laws of physics, the tomb model started to collapse. The first confirmed anomaly was the so-called Big Void, a massive cavity at least 30 meters long located above the Grand Gallery. Originally detected through muon tomography, this technology tracks cosmic subatomic particles as they pass through stone, confirming the existence of hidden spaces. Grok did not stop at confirming that the void was there. It did not interpret the Big Void as a hidden treasure chamber or an abandoned construction corridor. When the system ran longitudinal wave resonance simulations through the granite structure, the position and geometry of the cavity suggested something entirely different. It functioned as a phase adjustment chamber, a resonance cavity comparable to load reduction chambers in modern hydroelectric dams or acoustic damping compartments in jet engines. Its placement was optimal for neutralizing or amplifying pressure waves moving through the structure. It was not an accidental emptiness. It was a required technical component for maintaining systemic stability. The next striking discovery emerged when Grok correlated the pyramid's position with ancient hydrological data. Sediment core analysis beneath the desert sands confirmed the existence of an ancient branch of the Nile, often called the Khufu branch, which once flowed close to the base of the Giza Plateau at the time of construction. Grok identified a direct relationship. The pyramid was not merely built near water. Its foundation system showed signs of physical interaction with groundwater levels. Water was not only a transport medium for stone. The presence of wells and subterranean channels beneath the plateau suggests that water was an active structural component. The AI's consolidated report presented a stark conclusion. The monument exhibits the characteristics of a unified physical system. It has inputs in the form of water and geological pressure. It has processing elements in the granite chambers and resonance cavities. It has directional conduits in the shaft network. Grok does not label it a machine in the modern sense of gears or circuits, yet it asserts that the structure was engineered to manipulate natural physical forces. The layout of corridors and chambers follows the logic of energy or acoustic flow, not the logic of human habitation or burial. Material science, piezoelectricity, and resonance modeling. Once Grok stripped away cultural interpretation and placed the data squarely within material science, a startling picture emerged. It shattered the romantic pull of the tomb hypothesis. The ancient Egyptian builders did not select stone randomly or solely for durability. They selected materials based on physical properties that modern science has only fully understood within the past century. The entire outer casing of the Great Pyramid was originally covered in smooth white Tura limestone, polished so finely that it reflected sunlight like a colossal mirror, chemically and physically. This white limestone is an excellent dielectric material, meaning it functions as a strong electrical insulator. By contrast, the inner core consists of dolomitic limestone containing higher concentrations of metallic elements and impurities, allowing limited conductivity. At the heart of the system, however, lies the king's chamber and the massive stacked granite beams above it. These were constructed entirely from red Aswan granite, transported from quarries more than 800 kilometers to the south. Why red granite? And why transport blocks weighing tens of tons across such a vast distance when limestone was readily available on site? Grok focused on the crystalline structure of this material. Red Aswan granite contains an exceptionally high concentration of quartz crystals, often exceeding 55% of its composition. Quartz possesses a unique physical property known as piezoelectricity. Here, Grok took its most controversial step. The system fed the entire granite structure of the king's chamber into a dynamic piezoelectric model. It treated the immense gravitational pressure from roughly 5 million tons of stone above as a constant. The dynamic variable came from below. Water flowing through limestone caverns and subterranean channels fed by the ancient Nile branch. Rapid flow and fluctuating water pressure generated microseismic pulses and natural telluric currents within the Earth. In this model, the structure operated as a massive transducer. Vibrational energy from the Earth and flowing water was conducted upward, causing the quartz crystals in the granite chambers to oscillate. When quartz is compressed or mechanically vibrated, it generates surface electrical charges. Conversely, within an electromagnetic field, it vibrates. Grok's simulations indicated that the endogenous voltage produced would not be sufficient to power a light bulb in the modern sense. However, it would be sufficient to generate low-frequency electromagnetic oscillations and extremely powerful resonant acoustic waves within enclosed spaces. This shifts the central question away from how much electrical energy the pyramid produced and toward what frequency it was modulating. The precise dimensions of the chambers and the massive stacked granite beams above the king's chamber, commonly described as relieving chambers, resemble enormous tuning forks. They appear designed to vibrate at a specific frequency. The AI determined that, given the exact geometric proportions of the king's chamber and the grand gallery, the system's natural resonance frequency lies within the range of 16 to 22 Hz. The value of 19 Hz repeatedly emerged as particularly stable across simulations. Under optimal activation conditions, standing waves would form within the granite chamber. The entire stone structure would transform into a colossal instrument, precisely tuned to sustain a single continuous and powerful note. This also provides a possible explanation for the absence of a mummy. An organic body placed within such a high-energy vibrational environment would rapidly deteriorate or fail to remain intact. That chamber was not a resting place for the dead. It functioned as a reaction chamber within a larger system. Infrasound effects and large-scale perception. Manipulation. 19 Hz is not an arbitrary number in physics. When Grok cross-referenced this frequency with modern biomedical databases, the result opened a far darker chapter of history. 19 Hz lies at the threshold of infrasound, sound waves below the range of human hearing, which begins at roughly 20 Hz, yet still perceptible to the body. Modern research in acoustics and neuroscience has demonstrated that infrasound, particularly around 19 Hz, can exert profound physiological and psychological effects. Because this frequency closely matches the resonant frequency of the human eyeball, it can induce subtle vibrations in the eye, producing peripheral visual disturbances. Those exposed may report streaks of light, shadowy forms, or the sensation of movement where none exists. More significantly, infrasound stimulates regions of the brain associated with fear and intense emotion, particularly the amygdala. In controlled laboratory environments, subjects exposed to this frequency often describe unexplained anxiety, chills along the spine, the sense of being watched, or overwhelming awe, as if standing before a supernatural presence. Some even enter trance-like states, or experience sensations of leaving their bodies. Now, return this scientific data to the context of ancient Egypt 45 centuries ago. The Great Pyramid, with its resonant granite core and unique geographic setting, begins to resemble a colossal psychological broadcasting device. The final report, generated by Grok AI, does not label the pyramid a power plant or a tomb. It describes the structure as a large-scale environmental perception manipulation system. There is no evidence of wiring. There are no signs of electrical appliances. Yet, there is clear evidence of acoustic resonance optimization, stratified material selection based on dielectric properties, mandatory astronomical alignment for synchronization, and hydrological integration within the foundation. These elements do not appear accidental. Imagine a coronation ceremony or a supreme religious rite. The pharaoh enters the structure and lies within the granite box inside the king's chamber, positioned at the focal point of highest vibrational intensity. Outside, thousands gather at the base of the pyramid, its white limestone casing blazing beneath the desert sun. When the system activates through water pressure and geological force, 19 Hz infrasound radiates outward from the stone core, tightening the chests of the crowd and immersing them in overwhelming awe. They perceive luminous halos through ocular vibration. They sense divine presence as their neural circuits respond to stimulation. They believe that the pharaoh has transformed into a god. This is the technology of deification. The pyramid was not constructed to serve pre-existing gods. It was built to manufacture gods through direct physical and neurological manipulation. It transformed a biological human into a supernatural being within the lived perception of the populace. Royal authority did not rely solely on law or military force. It was reinforced through a vivid spiritual experience that felt undeniable, produced by an immense stone system. This revelation overturns conventional understanding of Egyptian civilization. Religion may not have driven the construction of the pyramid. Instead, the pyramid may have been designed to generate and sustain religion, thereby preserving absolute social order. We may be witnessing a form of governance so sophisticated that it is deeply unsettling, using architecture and physics to intervene directly in human consciousness, turning obedience into a biological response. The silence of history, as the veil of mystery falls and the mechanism of psychological control emerges from behind the image of eternal beauty. A cold silence settles over history. We are forced to confront a stark reality. Knowledge of this technology is entirely absent from surviving records. The Egyptians were among the most meticulous record keepers of the ancient world. They documented everything: bread rations for laborers, livestock inventories, annual Nile flood levels, medical prescriptions, and even mundane legal disputes. Yet, within millions of hieroglyphic inscriptions and thousands of papyrus scrolls, there is not a single technical diagram explaining how the pyramid functioned as a resonant system. No inscription describes acoustic effects or electromagnetic forces within granite. This absence cannot easily be dismissed as coincidence. It bears the imprint of total information control. The ability to manipulate collective perception through architecture and sound would have been the ultimate instrument of elite power. It would have constituted the highest level of state secrecy, transmitted orally or confined to the narrowest inner circle of high priests and royalty. It is possible that this knowledge perished with the collapse of the Old Kingdom, when social order fractured and ruling elites were overthrown. What remained for later generations, including Egyptians of subsequent dynasties, may have been only the outer shell of myth. They continued to bury pharaohs in smaller, less precise pyramids, imitating the form while losing the original systemic function. They preserved the symbol, but lost the operating principle. The implications are immense. Human history may not be a simple linear progression from ignorance to digital civilization. There may have been alternate developmental peaks, moments when humanity possessed a far deeper understanding of environmental psychology and acoustic physics than we typically assume. Yet that knowledge may have been used for domination rather than liberation. The fall of the pyramid-building civilization may have resulted not only from drought or war, but from the failure of this control system itself. When the mechanism ceased functioning, or when its secrets were lost, the miracle vanished and divine authority collapsed. We, the modern observers shaped by smartphones and global networks, stand before what may be the ruins of a primitive yet extraordinarily effective form of mass communication. It required no screens, no satellites, no wireless signals. It used stone and vibration to transmit power directly into the human nervous system. The pyramid as a dormant resonant system. The Grok AI assisted investigation does not end with a satisfying conclusion. It ends with an uneasy question. The pyramids of Giza still stand at the edge of desert and modern city. Millions of tons of quartz-rich granite remain positioned with millimeter precision. The resonance chambers preserve their original dimensions and geometric ratios. The groundwater system beneath the Giza Plateau still exists, though its levels and flow patterns have shifted across millennia. From a purely physical perspective, the system has never been dismantled. It may simply be dormant. Its silence across thousands of years may not reflect lifeless stone, but rather the absence of precise activation conditions. Perhaps the required water level has changed. Perhaps the insulating outer casing has been lost. Perhaps the operational acoustic input procedure vanished into history. Yet, the physical potential remains. This leaves a profound unease for the modern world. We live in an era in which technologies that shape perception and behavior have returned in digital form through algorithms, artificial intelligence, and data manipulation. When we look back at Giza, we may be seeing their earliest prototype standing at the dawn of civilization. It is a permanent stone reminder that the ambition to control the human mind is not a modern invention, but a recurring obsession of power in every age. Should we attempt to reactivate this ancient knowledge? Do we truly wish to understand how early civilizations may have reached into the deepest layers of the human brain? Or are their doors better left permanently closed? The pyramids offer no answer. Their silence is not the peace of death. It is the silence of a psychological instrument awaiting its next operator. And in a world already shaped by invisible forces of influence, the possibility that such a system could awaken again may be the most unsettling thought of all.